there! I'm Quinma, and today I am doing a review on the crossover that came out way back when on August 29th, 2017 on the Switch, Mario+Rabbids Kingdom Battle. I recall that when the concept of this game was first leaked, it was largely panned as a crossover nobody wanted, myself included. For the public, that attitude appeared to have changed when it was officially revealed. However, for me, that didn't change until two things happened. One, I stumbled across a certain singing rabbid, and two, a channel that I really liked started a Let's Play for it. They made it look like it was really fun, but they never finished. So I figured I would get the game and finish it myself, and I was really excited for it too. And now I'm reviewing it. So let's see how fun I really find Mario+Rabbids Kingdom Battle. As per usual, I'll start with a story recap, so if you don't want any spoilers, then you can skip to the time on screen. We open with a young Mario fangirl inventor celebrating with her AI, Beepo, of the award they won for creating a device that fuses two things into one. While working on ironing out an overheating issue with the device, the genius girl decides to take a break and step out. This turns out to be a grave mistake, as just after she leaves, a group of rabbits teleport in and start messing with her stuff. When one of the rabbits mess with the Super Merge headset, it starts fusing the other rabbits with various objects in the room, including the Mario memorabilia. These fusings result in rabbit versions of the Mario characters. That aside, the overuse of the headset creates a wormhole that sucks all the rabbits in. Meanwhile, in the Mushroom Kingdom, the civilians are celebrating the unveiling of a new Princess Peach statue. However, in the middle of the unveiling, a wormhole opens in the sky, dragging everyone into it. When the wormhole spits out the rabbits, Beepo is given a physical form. Beepo quickly deduces that the headset rabbit is the fault of all of it. But before the headset rabbit can do anything, it is swept away by its own power going out of control. Suddenly, the rabbit's teleporting washing machine is about to crush Beepo. But thankfully, the heroic Mario rescues it just in time. Mario lands in a Mushroom Kingdom that's been fused with the Rabbid world. Shortly after, Rabbid Peach and Rabbid Luigi land nearby. Seeing that the fusing of the rabbits with random objects have caused them to become corrupt, Mario has no choice but to team up with Rabbid Peach and Rabbid Luigi to stop them. Beepo informs Mario of the Super Maj headset rabbit and that rabbit is the key to fixing everything. So the small group go chase after the other rabbits. When they catch up though, they aren't able to get close because the corrupted rabbits have guns. Thankfully, Beepo then gets an email from a fan named FB who sends the group their own guns to fight back. With weapons in hand, the group take out not just these corrupt rabbits, but several others along the way. Upon seeing the wormhole in the sky, Beepo appears to assume that the defeated rabbits are taken by it, however, trails off before elaborating. It stresses how important it is to find the Super Merge rabbit, so they continue onwards. Eventually, they meet the Sunflower, who distrusts Rabbid Peach and Rabbid Luigi due to the current rabbit invasion. Nevertheless, it agrees to give the heroes a gift if they defeat the rabbits in the area. Needless to say, Mario and the rabbits are easily able to take these enemy rabbits down. As promised, the Sunflower provides a reward. Though dissatisfied, Rabbid Peach throws it back. Instead of just leaving, the Sunflower complies and provides a better reward. Anyhow, as the heroes travel, they run into a Toad. The Toad was with Toadette, but they got separated. Thankfully, Mario was there to help reunite them. Once finding Toadette, she requests that Mario go check on Princess Peach. Beepo then gets another email from FB with an attachment that allows them to travel to Princess Peach's castle and back. Peach is happy to see Mario and the others. However, Rabbid Peach is rather unimpressed with the real princess. When other rabbits appear, Beepo concludes that the defeated rabbits teleport to the castle upon being freed from the corruption. They've been building facilities that'll assist Mario and the others on their travels. As Toadette's worries were really for nothing, Mario and the rabbits leave to continue their search for the Super Merge rabbit. They end up finding this rabbit in an area that Luigi is also hiding out in. The two scare each other when bumping into a piranha plant. This fear causes the Super Merge rabbit's power to go out of control and fuse the piranha plant with a rabbit. The little one flees, leaving Mario and the others to take on the Parabbit plant. This dangerous fusion was difficult to handle, but Mario still came out victorious. By defeating the fusion, it's separated back into their individual parts. Afterwards, Luigi joins the group, and Rabbid Luigi is thrilled to meet its counterpart. With that, they continue with their mission of chasing down the Mario+Rabbid. When they reach an area made of mostly toy blocks, they come across a Smasher Rabbid who is tormenting and throwing toads. Uncharacteristically though, instead of taking these villains down, Mario and the others flee past them with no indication whether the toads are safe or not. Anyhow, after scaling up the blocky tower, Mario and team find the Mario+Rabbid. However, they're not the only ones who found it. Bowser Jr. shows up too. In order to defeat Mario and impress his father when he returns from vacation, Bowser Jr. convinces the rabbit to join him. He also decides to name the rabbit Spawny. As they leave, Bowser Jr. calls forth the rabbit who is fused with Donkey Kong merchandise, Rabbid Kong. Rabbid Kong's large bulk is able to keep Mario and Co. in place. However, the large rabbit ended up being more annoying than threatening. After defeating Rabbid Kong, Rabbid Peach causes it to fall by destroying the tower. While Luigi is trying to bond with the hero Rabbids, Beepo talks to Mario about their next steps. Of course, they need to get Spawny away from Bowser Jr., but as they left during the battle, they decide to return to Peach's castle to regroup. At the castle, Beepo is able to determine that Bowser Jr. was last seen heading towards the Sherbert Desert. Therefore, that is their next destination. When they arrive in the desert, it is discovered that not only has it been partially frozen thanks to the fusion with the Rabbids world, but there's also giant underwear strung around everywhere. Just another consequence of the Rabbids, I suppose. Toadette then appears. She had been separated from Toad again as the latter had gotten lost. Mario agrees to go look for him. As they search for Toad, they notice the wormhole in the sky has gotten larger. According to another message from FB, when they defeat the corrupted Rabbids, that corruption is sent into the wormhole, making it more dangerous. As Spawny may be the key to fixing all of this, the urgency to separate it from Bowser Jr. increases. The heroes are able to track down Bowser Jr. When the latter starts a villain monologue, he is interrupted by a call from his father to make sure Bowser Jr. is doing okay while Bowser is away. After that embarrassing call, Bowser Jr. flees deeper into the desert. As Mario and the others give chase, they end up coming across Toad. Toad claims Toadette is the one who got lost instead of the other way around. Toad requests for Mario to escort him back to Toadette, and in exchange, he'll hand over the rabbit who's been trapped in an ice block. Due to this reward, Beepo agrees on behalf of the heroes to escort Toad back to Toadette. There are plenty of enemies that they had to guide Toad past, but Mario and the others were able to get Toad through safely. When they reach Toadette at the gate, they use the frozen rabbit as the key to open it. On the other side is Bowser Jr. and Spawny. Scared of this situation, Spawny's power goes out of control again, and Bowser Jr. is able to weaponize this to create Blizzy and Sandy. With those two blocking Mario's path, the villain is able to flee once more. The battle against Blizzy and Sandy was difficult, but Mario and his friends were able to dispatch them both quickly nonetheless. Afterwards, Rabbid Mario is freed from the ice. Mario is a little confused when seeing his counterpart, but Rabbid Mario is quickly able to get the former's good favor. With Rabbid Mario joining the team, the group continue after Bowser Jr. When Mario eventually catches up with Bowser Jr., the latter tries to force Spawny to create another corrupted creature. However, Spawny is trying its best to get away from Jr. This results in Spawny falling out of the Junior Clown Car as its power goes out of control. Spawny falls into a giant fridge that tumbles off the mountain. Naturally, both Mario and Bowser Jr. give chase. When Mario's team catches up, they are attacked by the effective icebreaker known as the Icicle Golem. This creature freezes the heroes, but thankfully, Princess Peach comes flying in and melts the ice with her own firearm. Unfortunately, she isn't fast enough to free Luigi, who gets thrown into the fridge. Mario happily adds Peach to the team, though Rabbid Peach is not too thrilled about it. Nevertheless, the team needs to work together to take down the Icicle Golem. The Golem hits hard and proves to be a real challenge. Even still, Mario's team is able to fight back and defeat it. One final kick from the princess sends the corrupted rabbit flying and frees Luigi too. With the team all together, they return to Peach's castle to regroup. Despite this, they don't have any real leads as to where Bowser Bowser Jr. or Spawny went. On a blind whim, they head to the spooky trails. Directionless, Beepo gets another message. While the sender is listed as ? Beepo assumes that it is still FB. The email tells the heroes to find the 2 lost relics of goodness to free Tom Fan, who will be able to help them. After a lot of exploring and several battles, they find the first relic of goodness, an old gramophone. After they take it back to the first pedestal, they receive another suspicious email from ? But Beepo still trusts it 100%, so they head off to find the second relic. As they are searching, they come across Toadette. She explains that she and Toad got separated again while playing hide and seek in the spooky trails. Against Beepo's wishes, Mario and team escort Toadette back to Toad. After reuniting the two, Toad and Toadette leave to play more hide and seek, while Mario's group goes back to their search for the second relic. Shortly after, they come across the fortune teller Madame Boistrella. The Madame tells them that they'll find a relic in a fountain, but to watch where they step, as not all is what it seems. With that knowledge and cryptic warning, the group move forward to find the fountain that houses the second relic. After some more exploring, the group find the second relic, a Boo Balloon. However, upon getting it on the pedestal, nothing happens. Beepo gets another message explaining that the moon gate will only open when there's a full moon, in which there is not one in the sky. However, the messenger states that they know a way to bring the full moon back and instructs the heroes to go through the old gate in the back. Going through it, they find Rabbid Yoshi coming out of a well, but turns out Rabbid Yoshi is not coming out on its own. Rather, it is being carried out by the dangerous Calavera, which attacks. Madame Boistrella was right about Mario and team being doomed, as Calavera is the toughest enemy yet. Truly with luck, the team is able to eventually defeat it, freeing Rabbid Yoshi while Calavera falls back down the well. Rabbid Yoshi continuously shoots into the well while Beepo welcomes it to the group. Now with Rabbid Yoshi by their side, the group continue on their way to get the moon back into the sky. Currently in the sky though is the corrupted wormhole getting bigger and louder. Beepo's urgency in releasing the savior Tom Fan increases. With that motivation, the group keeps going and eventually finds a large clock tower. Using the logic of the Rabbids, Beepo concludes that messing with the clock tower will get the moon to rise again. After solving the clock tower's puzzle, the moon does indeed rise again, resulting in the opening of the moon gate. Beepo gets another menacing message from ? But again believes it without any doubt. Mario and the others make their way back to the moon gate. Beyond the moon gate is the theater of Tom Fan. When they arrive, Beepo receives another message, this time actually from FB, who explains that their email was hacked and to ignore any messages regarding Tom Fan as it's a trap. Bowser Jr. reveals himself as the one who made those messages. Using Spawny's power and the relics of goodness, Bowser creates Tom Fan, better known as the musical Phantom. The Phantom does not hold back when singing about all of Mario's faults. However, while the Phantom really did hog the spotlight, his strength was far weaker than his tune would make one believe. In poetic justice, Mario gets the final hit on the star. With Tom Fan dealt with, Mario and friends return to Peach's castle so that they can make the trek towards Bowser's castle where Bowser Jr. took Spawny. While Bowser's been on vacation, Bowser Jr. has turned the lava pit into a rabbit-themed military production factory. Naturally, there are several tough enemies in the heart of Bowser's lair. Mario and the others are able to push past them all and make it to where Bowser Jr. is holding Spawny. Bowser Jr. takes control of his favorite birthday gift, the Mecha Jr., to personally take on Mario and friends. But there's a reason Bowser Jr. has been hiding behind all of Spawny's creations. The boy is no Bowser level threat, as Mario is able to take him out quickly. When the Mecha Jr. is destroyed, Bowser Jr. and Spawny go flying, with the latter falling off the platform. Believing that Spawny is no more, Bowser Jr. flees. But after he's gone, Yoshi pops out with Spawny in his hands. When Spawny comes to, the heroes are gentle with it to not frighten it and make things worse. Beepo even tries to reassure the rabbit to keep its spirits up. Anyhow, Bowser Jr. could be back at any time. Mario and the others rush to escort Spawny out of the dangerous castle. Of course, due to where they are, the team needs to be cautious and careful to ensure Spawny gets out safe and doesn't get scared enough to let off its power. Just Despite this, though, in a single moment, Spawny gets lured away and the others need to chase after it. Turns out that Spawny was lured towards the wormhole in the sky. A dragon-like creature emerges from the hole and takes Spawny away towards the wormhole. Bowser Jr. then shows up, blaming Mario and the others for the dragon. The boy then gets a call from Bowser, explaining that he's coming home early. Bowser Jr. panics, knowing he needs to clean up the mess before his father returns. Beepo notes that technically their interests do align. With that, the chase for Spawny continues. As they chase, Mario and friends are attacked by Wario and Waluigi's rabbit counterparts, Wario and Waluigi. The duo proves to be extremely powerful and succeed in slowing down Mario, but the heroes do defeat them. The Rabbit brothers flee, and Mario's group continues on their way. However, it wasn't the last of Wario and Waluigi. After Mario takes on a gauntlet of enemies with no break, the duo return with a new rabbit, the Lava Queen. The Lava Queen takes a particular interest in Mario, but battles against the heroes anyway. Despite being tired from the gauntlet, Mario's team is able to fight back against the villainous trio and win. Upon the rabbit's defeat, the trio flee once more. With no more obstacles in the way, Mario and his friends enter the deepest halls of Bowser's castle. When they enter, Bowser Jr. is in a panic because the dragon-like creature has taken Bowser. Bowser Jr. wants Mario to help, but Beepo states that it'd be smarter to return to Peach's castle to call in reinforcements. Bowser Jr. though is so desperate that he even apologizes for everything that's happened. Before the heroes can respond to him, the creature fuses with Bowser, transforming into the ultimate boss, Mega Dragon Bowser. The possessed Bowser attacks Mario's team without hesitation. With no way to hide or flee, there is no choice but to fight. The battle against Mega Dragon Bowser is extremely tense, but with strategy and friendship, Mario and the others are able to defeat the boss. The dragon is forcibly ejected from Bowser. With a final combined shot, Mario's team destroys the dragon, freeing Spawny. Bowser Jr. returns Spawny to Mario and thanks Mario for saving his father, in his own way. With that, the heroes return to the castle to inform everyone that the Mushroom Kingdom has been saved. Sometime later, a celebration is held to unveil a new statue of Rabbid Peach. Rabbid Peach takes a commemorative selfie of the whole group. Then, after the credits roll, Beepo goes to the Rabbids time machine that they apparently had, and it decides that it'll use it to help the heroes in the past, sending them messages about the future, revealing that FB stands for Future Beepo. With those messages now sent back to the past, the story ends. As a Mario game, I was not expecting anything complicated story-wise, and I can say it's as simple as I expected. There are a few small twists, but most are easy to see because either it was obvious or because it was spoiled in a trailer. An example of the former is Bowser essentially being the final boss. To be fair, it was a fantastic final boss and I loved it. But as far as story twists go, Bowser being the final boss is just expected. In fact, when I was talking to my brother about the game, he said a bigger twist would be if it was played straight and Bowser Jr. as the main antagonist was the final boss instead. Speaking of Bowser Jr., I thought it was nice to see him in the main antagonist role again rather than a high-ranking minion because I don't think we've seen that since his first appearance in Super Mario Sunshine. I was expecting a game original antagonist or Bowser himself. Bowser Jr. felt appropriate as the antagonist of this game due to his more childish nature in that he is a child, matching the insanity that is the Rabbids. Now, I've never really been a big fan of the Rabbids, but I was told that the Rabbids were toned down considerably for this game. And if this is the Rabbids being toned down, I don't think I ever want to see them at full force because I still found them incredibly annoying. Even the party member Rabbids tested my patience. Well, mostly one Rabbid party member who is very, very prominent. Now, Rabbid Luigi was just sort of there. Rabbid Mario wasn't actually that bad, and Rabbid Yoshi was recruited so late that he didn't really get a chance to shine. But Rabbid Peach was so annoying. I am aware that many love Rabbid Peach, but I really hate her. With how obsessed she was with her phone as well as her one-sided rivalry with Peach, Rabbid Peach came off as very narcissistic. Unfortunately, the game feeds into her narcissistic behavior, with her getting her own statue at the end. Rabbid Peach is never punished for her behavior, but rewarded. What's more is that she really is the only healer, so it's almost mandatory to have her in the party. Sure, Peach can technically heal, but there are a lot more steps to use Peach's healing than Rabbid Peach's healing. Realistically, this means, yes, Rabbid Peach is basically mandatory. Honestly, the game sort of forced me to have Rabbid Peach in my party didn't help in changing my perspective on her. There was another narcissistic rabbit, but I enjoyed that one, and that's the Phantom. As alluded to in the intro, the Phantom was what drew me to the game in the first place. His opera roast of Mario is a highlight of the game and completely full of references. There are obvious ones like the line referring to the spiny shell in Mario Kart, but there are smaller references too. Though to be 100% fair, there is a possibility that these smaller references weren't intended as references, but rather are a happy coincidence. One of the lines I'm specifically speaking of is,
"You are nothing but a parody. I find your good role in a tragedy."
You can very well argue that this is true, as the original Donkey Kong Arcade started its life as a licensed Popeye game, but later transitioned to being an original title, making Mario a parody of Popeye. The other one I'm referring to is,
Ha! You think yours is a real mustache?
yes, it could be a reference to the character designs. However, I choose to interpret it as a reference to the stash set in the Mario and Luigi titles, as a better mustache yields discounts at shops and critical hits. Therefore, the Phantom claims to have a higher stash set than Mario. Like I said, this is probably just referencing the character design, but I find it neat nonetheless. The fantastic opera aside, how is it that I dislike narcissistic Rabbid Peach, but like the narcissistic Phantom? Probably because, in addition to the roast, he is punished. The Phantom is defeated by Mario, thereby punishing him for thinking he was better than Mario. Meanwhile, Rabbid Peach is rewarded with a statue and whatever else she wants. That Mario character, and by extension some of the Mushroom Kingdom as a whole, feels a little off though, Mario especially. It's honestly hard to put my finger on why I feel like the Mario characters feel a little, well, out of character. Maybe it's in subtle ways, but I just get this whole unshakable feeling that these characters aren't 100% themselves. Just as an example, Mario getting annoyed at Toad, and sort of Toadette as well, for getting lost. To my recollection, Mario has never hesitated to help with any sort of reservation or complaint, and him being bribed into helping Toad in exchange for the ice cube containing Rabbid Mario just doesn't feel like something Mario would do. He would help regardless, wouldn't he? Sure, the guy likes cake, but I cannot recall him ever saving Peach just because his stomach told him to. While I don't know Toad as well, it still feels strange that he'd offer a guy trapped in an ice block as a reward for helping him find Toadette, rather than trying to figure out a way to get Rabbid Mario free himself, or maybe asking Mario to help Rabbid Mario. The most obvious moment, though, is when they first meet the Smasher enemies who are tormenting the Toads. Instead of saving the Toads, Mario ignores them in order to keep himself and his companions safe. Since when does the hero ignore others' cries for help, especially a good guy like Mario? So I hope you can understand why, to me, the Mario characters are a little off from how they're normally portrayed. In defense for the Mushroom Kingdom characters, it could be the influence of the rabbits entering their world, especially Beepo. I know Beepo isn't a rabbit, but it has ears nonetheless. It is true that Mario and the others are just following Beepo without ever questioning its decisions. I know Beepo means well and is working under the urgency of the sky portal widening, but it's not very heroic. In fact, this computer program is very selfish, only wanting to help when there's a benefit for the group, ignoring the idea that it could be wrong, such as with the Tom Fan episode. While Beepo wasn't the nicest being around, at the very least it didn't annoy me anywhere near the same level as the rabbits. Again, that might be due in part to the fact that Beepo was punished for that attitude. It was made a fool of after the reveal that Bowser Jr. was behind the Tom Fan emails giving birth to the Phantom. A character being punished for negative traits, learning from mistakes, and growing as an individual, thereby making them a better character? What a Marvel idea! Too bad it couldn't be applied to Rabbid Peach! I'm sorry, I just really don't like her. Related to Beepo, it's really weird that its creator just disappears from the story. The inventor opens the story and is the indirect catalyst for it. If the inventor didn't create the Super Merge, then the rabbits wouldn't have been able to mess with it, thereby creating the Mega Bug. Being one of the main reasons why this plot happened in the first place, it's really weird that the inventor doesn't even appear in a post-credit scene to see her room in a mess. Maybe she's addressed in the DLC or the sequel, but still strange that's not in the base game. What's especially strange about dropping a seemingly important character so randomly, though I guess that's on brand for the randomness that is the Rabbids, is how there are deep cuts in the story, obviously a result of a love for Mario. I already talked about the possible Popeye reference, but there's also possible reference to Wa Peach via the Lava Queen. While we didn't see Wa Peach's concept art until recently, we've known for a while what her role would have been had she been approved, being a leader of sort to Wario and Waluigi. And the Lava Queen plays the role of the leader of Wario and Waluigi with a personality that I can easily imagine Wa Peach having. I can see that there was so much love for Mario put into this game's story, so I really hate to admit this, but this story, or rather, these characters, are not doing it for me. With a story this simple, the characters are the most important part to me. The Mario characters feel a little off, and the Rabbids are largely more annoying than I'm willing to forgive. The story certainly had moments that I enjoy and others that got a chuckle out of me, but nowhere near enough for me to say that this is a strong story. But what about the gameplay? There are several Mario games that have different gameplay, so how strong and fun is the Mario+Rabbids Kingdom Battle game's gameplay loop? A common description I've seen of the gameplay is that it's XCOM but with Mario. I've never even heard of XCOM before this game came out though, so I can't compare it to anything other than itself. It's a strategy game first and foremost, but far different from the other strategy games Mario has been a part of, those being the various turn-based RPG titles. For one thing, everyone uses guns. Family-friendly stylized guns of course, but guns nonetheless. As one would expect, as the game progresses, one can buy stronger guns with different effects. You can also unlock some of these early with amiibo, but just one per character. Everyone also gets a secondary weapon with their own unique properties. For example, Luigi's secondary weapon will follow after its target and explodes when it catches up. It can actually play the role of distraction when there are tons of enemies. Then there are grenades like Peach's, as well as hammers that can only be used when close up, or rocket launchers which, as far as I can tell, are the opposite of that. With these, both Mario and their opponents attack each other from a distance, taking cover behind various obstacles or walls in the battlefield. As such, positioning and movement are key elements of the game. If Mario and Co are exposed, then of course there's a 100% chance of being hit. Thankfully, there are covers that provide 100% cover. Then others provide 50% cover. But both of these may be mitigated to 0% depending on if the other side is exposed. Furthermore, some of the cover can be destroyed by taking damage in place of the target. For these breakable ones, some of them hide traps that will cause damage or status effects. These effects can also be caused by some weaponry. There is fire, which causes some damage as the target runs around frantically, meaning they run to a different random part of the battlefield, more often than not leaving themselves entirely exposed. There is bounce, which is similar to fire, but the target bounces all around the battlefield, often falling off the field completely. Push is extremely similar to bounce, with the only difference is that the target won't bounce around, rather just being sent back in a single direction. There is honey, which prevents the target from moving at all. There is ink, which prevents the target from using their weapons. There is freeze, which prevents the target from using their special abilities. And there is stone, which combines honey, ink, and freeze. Lastly, there is vamp, which saps health from the target to heal the attacker for a turn. Honey, ink, freeze, and stone can be healed by a party member jumping on the victim. During movement, the player is technically taking control of Beepo, leading the character to the ideal spot. The reason to talk about movement is because damage can be done while doing so, making the simple action of moving another facet of the strategy. Sliding into an enemy can cause damage. Then Rabbid Luigi can afflict the opponents with vamp with his slide, but Rabbid Mario can cause an explosion while sliding, hurting friend and foe. While it is generally best to slide into enemies for a little extra damage, there may be specific situations where one would prefer not to. Using Rabbid Mario's slide when party members are too close is just one example. As part of the movement of the characters, thematically appropriate for the Jumpman himself is jumping. By jumping on a comrade or enemy, the character is able to move farther and, in the case of jumping on the enemies, damaging them. Some jumps also have additional effects. For example, Peach's jump allows her to heal nearby party members. It's nice, but unfortunately not as reliable as Rabbid Peach's healing technique. In addition to weaponry, each party member has its own unique abilities they can perform. They can be support techniques such such as Rabbid Peach's, or they can be offensive techniques. For example, Mario's Hero Vision allows him to attack the enemy when they are moving into his line of sight. But to balance these techniques, they do have a cooldown. Of course, certain enemies have access to all these abilities too. Before each battle, you can check to see what enemies are on the battlefield so you can plan accordingly. Despite there being 8 characters, you can only bring 3 of them into any battle, and then the game limits the party choices. First off, Mario is mandatory. Personally, this didn't bother me, but I can see when you only have 3 characters, it can annoy someone to have Mario forced upon them. Similar to how it annoyed me that it felt like Rabbid Peach was mandatory due to how she's really the only effective healer. Yes, you can have more than one Rabbid in the party, so Rabbid Peach doesn't have to be the only Rabbid with Mario, and I guess if you don't care about healing abilities, then she doesn't have to be there at all. However, my defensive playstyle required the healer. This meant, for me, there was ordinarily only 1 free party slot. You'd think when you only have 3 party slots, with 1 always blocked off, the developers would allow you to choose whoever you want for those last 2 slots. The reality is that you are required to have at least 1 Rabbid. If they're going to put this restriction on the player, you'd think they make it an equal 1 mushroom character and 1 Rabbid, but the only requirement is a Rabbid. I know this would add another restriction, but I think it'd be better to either restrict the player to having 1 of each, or allowing the player to customize their party however they like. At least there is a skill tree to empower all the characters. Each character gets their own skill tree with abilities largely unique to them that the player can pick and choose between. There are slots to increase the strength of the character's techniques. There are some to add movement and or effects to said movement, such as allowing Mario to jump twice instead of just once, and some to increase the general power of the characters. It's very easy to get skill points to fill up this tree, so it actually is pretty simple to build the characters exactly as you want. You don't need to commit either. There's a reset button so the player can redo their choices entirely. In the overworld, there are sometimes puzzles that need to be solved. These are either for story progression, additional skill points, or collectibles that can be viewed back at the Mushroom Kingdom Museum. The overworld puzzles are pretty simple. Some in the later levels are a bit more complicated, however that's to be expected of level progression. While there are a lot of mandatory puzzles, there are optional ones too. These optional ones are accessed by these blue cannons in the overworld. Possibly because they're optional, these blue puzzles are more difficult. Not necessarily in a level progression way, but because you're timed. If you run out of time, then you are booted out. Thankfully, you can try as many times as you want until you get it right. Generally, these puzzles, both the mandatory and optional ones, utilize the special abilities that Beepo receives over the course of the story. These abilities can only be used in the overworld, so there's no effect on the combat. Really, the purpose of these are to control the story progression. This is needed because at the Mushroom Castle, you can go to any level, unless there's a roadblock that needs a new Beepo power. The level progression is completely linear. You can go back to previous levels and use Beepo's newest power to get a collectible that was out of reach before, but even so, while playing, I couldn't help but wonder what was the point of a hub world when the game is linear anyway. It's not like you're offered 2 or 3 worlds at a time and you can tackle that selection in any order but can progress until all of them are done. Rather, it is just a straight shot. The one and only reason I can think of is an excuse to have Peach's Castle in the game in some way. Granted, at the castle, there is the museum to look at collectibles the player has unlocked, as well as the multiplayer mode. However, that doesn't change how I constantly question why there's a hub in the first place. Something else that I question is the camera. How the camera works between combat and the overworld are quite different. In combat, it is incredibly stiff. Rather than being able to circle it into any position, it can only be turned to different angles. It basically swerves on a square rather than a circle, so it felt very restricting. At least you can zoom out to see the rest of the map, but it'd be much better if you could spin the camera in the normal circle rather than an awkward square. Thankfully, in the overworld, you can move the camera however you want, but even in the overworld, there are certain annoying points of camera work. While you are technically playing as Beepo, the focus of the camera had my eyes focused on Mario instead. Because I was looking at Mario rather than Beepo, it did make some movement rather difficult, especially annoying in the blue puzzle rooms. Furthermore, there are some points in the overworld where the game won't allow any camera movement. I was used to being able to move the camera however I liked in the overworld, especially in comparison to the stiff combat camera, so the areas with the fixed camera angles simultaneously annoyed and confused me. I know these fixed camera angles are rather common, environment in games, but I did find that I kept trying to move the camera anyway. The camera work for the cutscenes was good though, focusing on the important characters and actions happening in the scenes. Visually, I'd say it's pretty fine. The Mario characters particularly look good, especially when taking into consideration that the models weren't from Nintendo. Ironically though, I found that a good number of the Rabbid models looked low quality in comparison. Perhaps it's just different art styles, but the Rabbids looked somewhat doughy, if that makes sense. Despite this, it did make sense to take that route. I know that there are some shows that change to a simpler style to make it easier to animate, and considering how animated the Rabbids were, I can see this logic applying to them as well. The animations were indeed good. The characters were expressive and moved fluidly. I like the battle animations the most though. My favorite animations, weird as it is when Mario and Luigi use their hero sight, slowing down the action as they fire. The character designs were fine. They served their part. As far as new characters, I did like the Mario-themed Rabbids more than the original enemy Rabbid designs. I understand why the enemy designs were what they were, to telegraph to the player what sort of properties the enemy possesses. Due to the introduction scenes for each enemy type, even when in a different world coloring the Rabbids with different details, the overall design still signals to players what to expect. That being said, while I understand why all the enemies were designed this way, it would have been neat if there were more Mario enemies too. It would have been pretty funny to see a Goomba trying to wield one of these guns. But again, I understand why this route was not taken. The audio design on the other hand was top-notch. The sound effects fit the setting and action on screen, and I enjoyed the music in the moment. Granted, it's not quite the type of game music I normally listen to, but it's still good. In fact, you can very well argue that the soundtrack is what drew me to the game in the first place. Like I said in the intro, a certain singing Rabbid was one of the main factors that interested me. For someone who isn't really a music girl in the first place, the fact that a single song drew up interest for me should be a testament to how good the soundtrack is. But how good is the rest of the game? In my opinion, the game is just okay. I can certainly see how this could be someone's favorite game, and I've seen all the positive reviews, so I really hate to say that I found it just okay. In fact, if I were to give it a traditional number score, then I'd say it's a 6 out of 10. To equate that to my grading scale, again, I hate to say this, but I really do feel mixed on the game. I enjoyed the Mario references in the story and environment, but the Rabbid half of the game was more annoying than I thought it'd be. I was bracing myself for their annoyance going in, and I was under the impression that they were toned down too, but evidently, not by enough. They were so incredibly annoying. I don't really look for story in Mario games, but I do at least look for consistent characterization. Whereas the Rabbids were consistently annoying, the Mario characters felt somewhat off in their portrayal. They were still within their archetypes, but they still felt off with some of their actions. The idea of silent Mario characters being off is strange in of itself, yet it is the truth. The gameplay loop in itself was fun, most of the time. I enjoy turn-based strategy games, and this is a type that I haven't played before. It was frustrating sometimes though, and that wasn't in a fun way. Even though there are 8 playable characters, there are limitations to a party composition. Sure, you can customize each character through their weapon combinations and their skill trees, but I still felt limited. This is because you can only bring 3 characters. One of them has to be Mario, which is what I expected, and the other has to be a Rabbid. Then you can argue that Rabbid Peach is forced upon the player due to her being the only consistent healer. This means that I really only had a choice for the last slot, as the other 2 were mandatorily filled by Mario and Rabbid Peach. Technically, Princess Peach can heal too, but with the required movement needed to have Peach heal makes it inconvenient in terms of strategizing. I wish there were more healers so that the party could be at least a little bit more customizable. The gameplay camera was also really bad. Not being able to move the camera in a smooth 360 was quite annoying, especially when positioning is so key to combat. That being said, the final boss was so good that I did need to take a step back and review my feelings of the game. It was that good. It's just too bad that the journey to get there was not really the case. That journey looked as one would expect, with music accompanying it that was really good. Overall though, as a full package, I am mixed on my feelings towards this game. I wish I could like it more because I do see a good game, but I just can't for the reasons I mentioned. I may have no interest in playing the sequel myself, but I do hope the developers made the experience even better for Mario and all the players.